Okay, Mitch, you look perplexed. Are you ready?
He's
yeah. Sorry.
Perplexed.
I'm reading stuff.
Real emotional issues. Mitch is all like, yeah, damn carburetor again, huh? Looking, yeah. Gonna need some 40 weight, too.
I heard something on the radio, and I'm looking it up to see if it was true, because it's pretty fucked.
That's Mitch's luck.
Fuck it. Well, yeah, go in.
Hi, welcome to the Fake Philosophers.
Right,
My name's Eddie Wantlands, and we're here to present some good old-fashioned entertainment, and my co-hosts doing some little self-announcement and self-promotion. Why don't you go ahead, Mitch?
Yeah, very, very old-fashioned entertainment. But if it was good enough for the fucking 20s, it's good enough for the 2020s. That's why we started this podcast.
That's absolutely wonderful, Mitch. I'm glad you would say something like that. And the other co-host, Mike Glenny. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Michael Glenny?
I think you covered it. I think I am officially introduced.
That's pretty much it.
You didn't talk last time. That's Glenny. Okay, just...
Yes. I got something real quick that's funny and made me laugh.
Go for it.
This is not news. I'm sure people have heard of this. It didn't really make like crazy headlines, but I just read the headline and I did one of those out loud. So, headline of the week for me. First Lady Jill Biden apologizes after comparing Texas Latinos to breakfast tacos.
I remember hearing a snippet of that.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
So it's one of those things, like, the headline's not wrong. And the full quote is, what she said was, it was in a speech to the nation's largest Hispanic civil rights organization. I forgot the name of it, but so she said, she was addressing or talking about this guy Raul, and she said Raul helped build this organization with the understanding that the diversity of this community, as distinct as the bodegas of the Bronx, as beautiful as the blossoms of Miami, and as unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio, is your strength.
That's having lived for about 5-6 months in San Antonio, those breakfast burritos, you're not pulling the wool over my eyes. I know one that, comes from Oaxaca and another one that comes from, Santiago. But, this is San Antonio, Texas. You're not Jill Biden, you nutty person.
Yeah, it's weird. It's so out of character for the Bidens to make an error while speaking.
I would expect it from the big guy, but she seems like her head's on straight, and it's just a weird fucking thing to say. Like, if we went to Little Italy in whatever big city, and I was like, yeah, Little Italy's great, like, and they're as diverse and unique as their pizzas. Like, it's just like, what?
Yeah, you're gonna come under fire. That's the thing. I get what she was trying to say, and that's why I kind of shrugged it off, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. The headline was better than the actual quote.
There's more things said in context that are a lot more horrible than this kind of taken out of context explanation. The fact is, if anytime you want to relate a demographic to anything, and you are not from that demographic, you're gonna come under fire, no matter what.
And then, well, these days, yes. And if you have somebody else writing your copy, like she didn't sit there and diligently pen that speech. Let's say tacos, right. San Antonio, that works.
Right. Right.
That'll really be a good segue into the Latino community, because everyone loves tacos, especially in San Antonio, right? So she didn't write the speech, and she gets handed it. And,
the headline's more funny than the actual speech. That's a strange thing.
Issues apology. It's like, okay, then we're done with it, right? Nope.
We have to laugh at you for at least 3 days.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Do
Anyway.
you remember when President Trump posted? It was like Cinco de Mayo before. I think it was during. It was either right after he got elected or it was during the campaign.
Talking about the burrito bowl thing or the taco bowl.
Yeah. He had the taco bowl.
I remember.
And his quote was something like, "No one makes better taco bowls than here at Trump Tower. I love the Hispanics." Was his direct quote. And people lost their shit over it. And this is that same kind of thing. It's like, really? Is that what we want to get crazy over? Well, yes, obviously. All right, well, fine.
White people gonna white people.
Yeah.
But then what about, kind of the melting pot that is America, and how do you bridge that gap? Well, you can't do it if you're white. For one thing.
Well, if you put
Not
a breakfast
publicly.
taco,
Why?
if you put a breakfast taco in a melting pot, it's not going to mix in as well. First of all, Eddie.
That's called tortilla soup
Whoa.
with tater tots.
Yeah, there was plenty more. Yeah, it was surprising. Jill Biden's first flub, it wasn't as bad as it. Did you guys hear the
I know what you're going to say. And yes.
yeah,
go
what
on.
is it? End of quote, repeat the line bit.
End of line, repeat quote? Or no, you're right.
Repeat end of quote, repeat the line. And he that was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing because he did it like
out loud or what?
Yeah.
he read that out loud. Yeah,
Oh man.
it was pretty.
And you
I
could-
follow Joe Biden a lot.
And you could tell-
follow more than I do.
You could tell, I feel like right after he said it, he was like, oh, fuck.
I was just gonna say I disagree. I was just gonna say when he says end of quote, repeat the line. He like emphasizes the repeat the line like he's doing the repeat the line, kind of like he's emoting with it. And then maybe after that he was like,
You're
oh,
100%
fuck.
right that during it, he was like, he's like, end of quote, repeat the line. But then right there, for about a half a second, if you just look in his eyes, you could tell he was like, oh, man. Like, time stood still, and he saw all the memes already.
Yeah,
And then he came back. And he was like,
he knows
maybe
what a
everyone will
meme
miss it.
is. He's during his campaign. He's like, you need to go home and put your record players on and just it's like what?
So there were moments when Trump first ran where I was like, that should have been it for him. And for me, for Biden, what was that weird ass speech when he was campaigning? This is like in the primaries where he was talking about how like in the pool or something he would like rub the kids or the kids would rub his hairy legs. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was.
I just
pretty
remember
funny.
hearing that and I was like, I feel like that should have been. It wasn't like Dan Quayle spelled potato wrong, so they thought he shouldn't be president.
Jeez.
So like,
Presidential gaffes.
Yeah, I'm all about like if you mess up and say something wrong. I've personally never done that, but I try not to judge because the president do that a lot, and I try to give a little grace. It's like he stumbles over words or he'll say something incorrectly and try to find a word. I've done that. We all done that. It humanizes them. That's fine. When he was in the final debates during his run, he came out. It was him versus Trump, and he came out at one. I forget which number debate it was, but he came out with his phone, and he's like, "Wait, before I do anything," and he holds his phone up to the microphone at the stand, and it starts playing this Latino music, like a
it was
this like
Despacito.
modern Despacito.
Despacito, I think was the song. Yeah.
Okay,
That wasn't at the
he
debate
did it.
though, was it? I thought it was just at some speaking arena thing.
It was at a debate. He opened his opening,
I do remember that though. It was
speech or
like,
something,
look
but-
everybody, I am also a Latino.
Oh my God, it was awesome. It was awesome. There was that line. There was the, hey, if you don't know who you're voting for, you're not black line. He said some
I
real
love
winners.
that one. I loved that one.
Wow.
He said some winners that were not mess ups. And I'm like, we could spend enough time on the mistaking, the finding the wrong words and all that. And that's one thing. There's plenty of stuff that he meant to say that we could talk about.
That he had planned on
what about
saying,
John
yeah.
F. Kennedy? One of his best line, Ich bin ein Berliner.
Yeah.
I mean, Berliner. Berliner. That's somebody from Berlin. The way he said
Right.
it, he said, I'm a jelly donut.
Donut, yeah.
And then, we quote him on that. It's like we quote the right thing.
Yeah.
Because I am a jelly donut. Well, okay.
What I do love, back when W was in office, he would go to the correspondence dinner and make fun of himself.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think I forgot the exact quote, but he had like the impersonator, the guy who would do a great George W. Bush, like next to him. And so
There
like
was
he
a
would
few.
say,
Was it Dana Carvey or
No, it was-
who-
Oh, I
No,
love Dana Carvey.
it wasn't Dana Carvey. It was like more of an obscure guy, but he does like a
Okay.
perfect impression.
Okay.
And
No,
so they
you know
had
what?
him-
Dana Carvey did his dad.
Yeah, okay, he did HW, you're right.
Bush, yeah.
But so the guy, pretty much like George Bush would say something, and then the guy would say what's really happening in his head, and they would make jokes like policy and politics aside. George W. Bush was known for like stumbling in his words and saying the wrong thing every now and then.
Right.
But it was
Right.
funny that he embraced that and like
Yeah.
poked fun at himself. I like that kind of shit.
I do too. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm not perfect, and I'm not pretending to be. So come on. Yeah, I do like that. No, but there's the president at the time of recording this, he's in Tel Aviv today or tomorrow, technically, whatever it is. But I heard all the news reports were saying, President Biden says some pretty crazy shit, and I hadn't heard any of the quotes yet. Have you guys heard anything?
Yeah, it sounded it was kind of like the Jill Biden quote I just did. It sounded worse than the actual quote.
Okay. Then we don't need to get into it, but
it was something like, in the headline it says something like Biden says thing about the Holocaust in Israel, and it was like, oh shit, like what did this motherfucker say? But then I looked at it and I forgot the exact quote, but it was something like he meant to say he pretty much, it was like the word the Holocaust and then honor something else, and he accidentally said honor the Holocaust, but then he corrected himself, said the right thing, and then went on. So it was a headline grabber.
Gotcha. I had, like, last week, I had some things written down, and I couldn't find the piece of paper, and I found it. What I've been doing is, like, driving along in the car, I write down news segments that I think is interesting.
While you're driving?
Yeah.
I was thinking that, too.
Yeah, well, it's traffic, so I wait till a stop, and then I write.
Okay.
But, no. Or I'm driving.
Number? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mitch.
There was a few items that was pretty funny. The founder of the Hells Angels, Sonny Barger Jr., whatever. He died not too long ago. He was 82 years old. Probably of COVID. There's what else? Oh yeah, this is the one I was researching when we started on. There was this 8-year-old.
Hold on. Why did you bring that up if you're not going to expound on it?
I didn't have time to expound on it.
I just want other members of motorcycle gangs that watch the podcast to know.
To be aware.
Yeah, just to be aware,
I mean, look, he was found dead. It's a lesson.
That's the obituary.
It's a lesson It's a lesson to all you other, Hells Angels that, you're going to die if you're in the Hells Angels. So,
true.
Get out now, man, because your founder died.
The founder was found dead.
Oh, this is the best news reporting on the internet.
But I did hear a story last week, and this is what I was looking up when we signed on. This 8-year-old kid in Germany had crawled into a sewer and was stuck in there for like 2 weeks, and they finally got him out, and the kid was fine. What I was trying to research was that there was someone. Apparently, the kid was playing and tried to chase a clown down into the sewer.
Okay, there should be a screenplay. Not even a screenplay, just kind of a story that delves into clowns and sewers. I don't think one's been written yet.
I don't think, a book or anything like that. Yeah.
I wonder if the book had anything to do with that, or he's just making it up.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting, but I was looking it up, and like I'll be on a news article and I'll be halfway down the page, and then the pop-up comes up, says, "Hey, we see you're enjoying CNN.com. You want to pay for a subscription, you fucker?"
The paywall. The paywall.
Assholes.
2 weeks in a sewer and he's fine. Wait a minute.
What was he eating?
Yeah, what are you eating? Well, you've got a place to take a crap. That's good. All right, fresh water. Is there a Brita down there or something you can help yourself out to?
Okay, it says over a week, not
over
2 weeks, but more than a week. But still though.
Hey, little boy. There's not any toilet paper down. Or I take that back. But yeah, how's he surviving down there? I call bullshit. I call bullshit on that.
Yellowstone National Park last week had a tourist killed by this animal, making this a tourist was killed by a bison, and it was the third one in the month or something, and it officially made bison the most dangerous animal in the state, apparently, just from that frequency of killing. The White House has not issued any bison reformation bill or anything like that. We're waiting. Speaking of reformation, California. This happened in Ventura County last week. Quietly, no one's really talking about it. I'm glad I wrote it down because this is enraging and everyone should keep talking about it. Ventura County decided to release this website where people can find information on gun ownership, where to purchase, where to turn in, any laws on guns and stuff like that. Well, they fucked up and accidentally posted the address, well, all the information of every CCW holder in California.
Oh.
Their address, their gun ownership, their criminal status, all that shit. And it was up
fixed?
for about... Yeah, they took it down, but I'm sure no one screenshotted or downloaded or anything.
No, of course.
Anything like that.
Who would ever do that on the internet?
So now now it's just weapons holders, not so much concealed. Or it's like, hey, I know that dude. He's got a gun under there. Really?
No, apparently it was just CCW holders. So if you had a registered CCW in the state, every CCW holder in the state was made public for a bit. So that was pretty interesting.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
Whoever said government's
another data
incompetent?
breach. There's been tons of data breaches, so
I'm sure, but this would I don't know. This one kind of stands up in my opinion. I know there's been a lot of financial data breaches and stuff like that, but there was the shutting down the gas line a couple of years back. Everyone seemed to kind of, or just last year, wasn't it? Everyone kind of forgot about that, but
that's a big deal. And interestingly enough, I watched a segment on this. Like, if somebody gets your PIN and your bank account or your credit card number or something like that, that's not worth a lot of money. I mean, if you aggregate it and put it, it's one of like several thousand. From my understanding, that's worth money. But your data, like your medical record and stuff like that, that can't change. So that's kind of what's being sought after now. If you believe what you see on YouTube.
To kind of go off on that, I remember I did a lot of research on because my credit card shit got stolen one time, or my debit card, whatever. And for the most part, the money isn't made. Like, it's not like, Eddie, if I stole your card information, I'm most likely, if I'm one of these scumbags, I'm not going to take your shit and go buy stuff. What I'm going to do is go on the dark web and sell that to any number of people. So like, hey, anyone want a card? $50. So now instead of trying to steal your shit myself, I'm just selling your shit off. That's what happened to me.
Interesting.
So the money's not made in the actual account.
As soon as you know it, there are fraud protections in place. So as soon as you buy from what I understand, as soon as you buy the information, if they catch it soon enough, it's no good. So if you're a purchaser of that and you've already changed your card, then it's no good.
Oh, of course. I'm just saying
to the $50. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm saying to the original person. That's what I'm like. The original person who stole your shit, he's not trying to go after your money. He's getting paid from other people, and he doesn't give a fuck if you report it because he's going to get his pay. Because I remember when my shit got stolen, there was purchases in D.C., Chicago, Texas. Like, it was all over the fucking place.
I mean, a lot of these thefts, the majority of the profit, it happens indirectly. Like what you're talking about, Mike, they take your info and just sell it somewhere else. Our company got robbed. This guy bought a generator with a credit card, like flat out, and he wanted it delivered to to his home. So we got the payment, we got the generator, it's all good. And so credit card went through, money was in the bank, sweet. So we drove the generator out to his home, way down in South LA, and it was a trailer park. We're like, okay, is this trailer.
An interesting place for a generator.
And he's like, yeah, my wife will be there. It's actually, I think he was going to install it somewhere else, or something, but he wanted it brought there so he could pick it up later. Knocked on the door, nice lady answered, yeah, go ahead and drop it here. We dropped it off. She signed the delivery receipt, and we left. A few days later, the charge on the credit card was taken back because the card was reported stolen. Suddenly we couldn't get in contact with this guy anymore. We tried calling the trailer park, that number's disconnected and whatever. So this guy essentially paid for a generator that he probably sold for cash somewhere else with a credit card he stole. And there was nothing really we could do about it. The number we had for his contact was disconnected. That name was gone. The cell phone was probably a burner. And the trailer park, we can't do anything there because it's rented property. We can't put a lien on the house or anything like that. And so that was that. But
that sucks. And that it's so clever. It sucks, but it's clever.
Yeah. Oh, it was really clever. And we kind of felt like, oh my God. And I'm like, hey, I can make some calls. We can go get our money back.
Or get the generator. So the generator was gone after you left it there, or what?
Well, we couldn't get back into the trailer park to see why. We needed when it was one of those gated trailer parks. When we rolled up, we pressed the number on the thing, and they let us in. And we can't go in. We would need the police to do that. The police can't do it without a warrant.
You would need a warrant.
Right, and then what? If the generator's not there, so what?
You can look.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
True.
I wanted.
How long had it
to
been
look
before you discovered you were duped?
like 2-3 days after delivery, and
that's long.
And it was somewhere like South Torrance, and we're out in Rancho, so it was like a 2-hour drive to get there. So it was good times. Learned that day.
You live, you learn. You live, you learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what I was saying about indirect, it's never a direct thing. This guy isn't walking away with a free generator now. No, he got a card to buy something else, to sell something else, and it keeps moving along, so it's harder to trace. There's a new thing called home title theft. Have you guys heard of this? Scammer. I'm just giving all our listeners all the great scamming ideas. No,
well, if
scammers.
if it helps them, it's like, okay, what do I got to worry about now?
Right. No, scammers apparently, I forget how exactly, but they get the rights to your title, to the title of your house, and immediately you think, oh well, then they would own the house flat right and evict you? Well, no, not so much. But if they have the title and they can prove that they're the owner of the title, they can take out a loan and use your house as collateral.
Ouch.
So you're sitting at home, Mike, just enjoying, your house
podcast.
And an official from the bank with a cop shows up saying, hey, we want our money back. You haven't been making payments, and they put the house as collateral. What's going on? And you're like, what the fucking what? So
yeah, who the fuck are you talking to?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy out there.
Well, these are challenges as more and more things go online, and what's not online anymore. It's amazing to not find something online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this isn't going to get easier.
So the bigger online footprint you have, the bigger target.
Mm-hmm.
So put all your cash in a mattress and learn how to hunt. Live out in the mountains, man. You're
yeah, and that's why you're listening to this, because you want to just get right off the grid and go be a mountain man.
Speaking of scams, I had a great idea for one. LA, a few cities in LA were doing a thing before the 4th of July. They were doing a firework buyback program. There's like 2 cities in entire California where fireworks are legal. Everywhere else, they're pretty much illegal. So some cities in LA were doing a firework buyback, kind of like the gun buyback kind of thing. They would take your fireworks and they'd give you these gift cards. So I had this idea, hey, tell everyone to get these like cardboard tubes off of Amazon or something, get the printed up firework label, put some rocks in there to weight it down, shrink wrap it, and take it to the nearest buyback, and you could probably make a pretty good profit off city money. So think of that for next year.
If it's like a cash kind of transaction where you just walk up, here's the firework, and they hand you the gift card and you walk away, I think that's a pretty clean scam.
I think so. I mean, it's worth the try. I mean,
yeah,
what are they going to get you on?
Give you no. Yeah, and all I can say is say no. So,
yeah. What else I got here?
I have something that might be a fun discussion. I think Eddie would enjoy. Well, actually,
go ahead, Glennie.
So, a buddy of mine, he started taking acting classes, just because he was interested in it and he's having a good time. And I was talking with him, and we don't have to go over the whole conversation, but I'm not sure if it's on camera or on the air we've talked about it, but I know off the air we've talked about just horrible audition experiences. Not that we've been bad, that like we get put with a bad reader or another person who just ruins it for you or whatever. And it's kind of, we were talking about that, and it kind of dawned on me. So I did like a community college, about 2 years of classes in acting. 3 years when I got my bachelor's, and then just from random coaches and random plays. I've never once been taught as an actor how to deal with a bad reader during an audition.
Oh.
Like, I'm not sure about you guys. Like, I've never...
What does that even mean? I mean...
So, for example...
Somebody who's not giving you something, or what?
Well, for an example, I did a read once in LA with a guy. I was partnered with him. And it actually pissed me the fuck off because he wasn't even there to audition. His wife, I overheard him talking, his wife was auditioning for something in like a different room. And he was there, so he just signed up. So I read with this guy. And you know, video auditions, you're not supposed to really face each other directly. You kind of cheat to the camera, and you just kind of do that. This dude stepped in front of me, blocking the camera view of me to face me because it was kind of an aggressive scene, and just he wasn't reading the lines well. So like you have to kind of justify your line to respond to the way he said his line, and it was a fucking mess. And it was one of these audition places that like part of their agreement when you as a producer when you work it, you have to post the auditions online for the people to see. So later I actually watched it, and this guy fucked my audition up. And so there was that. And then that's auditioning with somebody who's bad. As far as like a reader, in college, this was the closest I came to being taught anything about this. We were doing a mock audition in our class. And so one of the students was given, pretty much acted as the reader, and somebody got up to read with him. And the reader guy, it was kind of funny just watching, but he had to read for like 3 characters in this scene that the person was auditioning for. So at one point he was like speed reading through it, like blah 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 blah, and it was very comical to where he even turned to the professor and he's like, "Really, you gave me this shit? You couldn't get an easier scene?" And then kept reading, and everyone laughed, and it threw the person off who was doing the audition, the fake audition. And the professor said, like, "You know what? You'd be surprised. Sometimes that happens in auditions that the reader gets like an attitude," and that was it. So just that's when I started talking to my buddy. I was like, you know what? I've just realized, like, I've had teachers and professors and coaches tell you, like, when a scene's going wrong, like on stage, how to react, how to cover things, like have ideas in the back of your head. But I've never had anyone coach me on how to deal with a sabotaged audition, so to speak. And so I was just kind of wondering what you guys thought about that.
My question is, where's the hell's the director? Where's the direction? Hey, you're in front of him. You're in frame and you're in front of him. Let's try that again.
Well, that's a fair point, but I'm just talking about from the actor's point of view. You should, like, I feel like that should be a training. If you just get a shitty reader or a shitty actor who's not giving you anything. There's another time, without going into too much details, it was 2 of us, 2 actors reading with the guy. The scene was pretty much an interrogation, kind of like 2 cops interrogating this criminal. And this guy was horrible, and he was not picking up on lines. Like, it was an aggressive scene, like, where we're fucking trying to get at this guy. And he kept, like, I would say something like, blah, 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 blah. And then he would just not be in it. Like, he'd be in his head. 5 seconds would pass, suck all the energy out, and then he would say his line. So he was fucking it all up. Now, granted, you could say, that's not an excuse for me to be out of character or fuck me up, but it does. And so that's why, like, just thinking about it, I was like, that's not taught, at least in my experience.
Well, you're always. How do you prepare for something like that in the first place? To me, that's all direction. The director needs to step in, the casting director, because it's his ass in the line. What happens if you're stellar and some idiot's in the way, and now we've got to call that asshole back in?
I mean,
no, read it right.
You could say,
to me, that's the director's fault.
You could say it's the director's fault. Yeah, you could also say it's the other actor's fault. Yeah, but I mean, but I agree with what Mike's saying, is that there should be an element of training the person doing it right how to deal with a bad director and a bad actor and bad lighting and everything, really. It might just be me, but it seems like teaching how to audition is something relatively new. I think that's only recently being taught, because I think up till 10, 20 years ago, it was really just all about the craft and everything. And then they realized, well, all the kids we're teaching aren't really getting parts, so we better teach them how to get parts, so that way our university looks good. So they started teaching.
Well, you also have these different mediums too. You're gonna audition one way for film, another way for theater, another way for television.
Yeah,
because there's different processes involved, and it's a very unnatural process in the first place.
It is.
Auditioning is frickin' weird. And then you've got to look at it from the point of view of the casting director. There's 30 other people like you after you go on. Yeah. And it's like, I've heard the same damn line. This is what the director wants.
Yeah. Well,
out of 30 people that look like you, who's the best, who's the most interesting, and
Yeah. Well,
so
so
it's really in a natural process.
but like two things. To Mitch's point, so I did take classes like in college and otherwise, like so they do teach out audition. I think that's a common thing. Because there is I'm horrible at auditions. Not horrible like that. I'm fucking somebody else up. Just I get nervous. I get in my head about them. But so they do teach that. I'm just talking about like they don't teach the. Like I said, I've been not trained, but like at least advice and tips on when things go wrong in a play. Okay, so this door has to open, or that's not a good example. This lamp has to fall at this moment. Be prepared if it doesn't. Have a backup plan. Like there's ways like to teach like different contingencies if things go wrong, but with the audition they don't. But Eddie, kind of going back to your point though, yeah, they're not going to stop someone and say he's reading good, he's reading bad, get him out of here. If the guy is fucking sabotaging the entire audition, he's just going to cut both of you. Mitch. Sorry.
What?
I can't work with this.
Case in point, huh?
But that's
Wow.
but hold on, Eddie. But you just proved my point though that it's not the director's like going through 50 people in a day. If a guy fucks your audition up, he's not gonna be like, let's give this guy another chance. He's gonna be like, all right, both of you get the fuck out of here.
Draw. Then it's a bad draw, and you look like an asshole if you say something.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
100%. Mitch is coming in and out. Mitch, are you back?
Wow, we just started talking about this too, and
Mitch is like, I don't like auditions.
There, am I back?
Yeah.
you're back and better than ever. Hire that.
I tried to cycle over to the other Zoom camera and I went to safe driving mode for some fucking reason.
Nice. Safe driving mode.
Wow.
Well, you're back now. Anyway, it was just as actors, it was something that came up, and I thought it was just an interesting concept.
Yeah. Screw your neighbor.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, they do have the contingencies of what if someone doesn't walk on stage when they're supposed to, and everyone has stories about that, and they offer, you ever been backstage of a play, they all kind of offer their own little advice, what if someone forgets a line, what do you say, and all that, but I've only ever heard people complain about auditions without ever offering any real advice on how to overcome it. I don't think that's really in the culture yet. I think it could be just because it's still a dog eat dog culture in the audition sense. It's quickly out. It's amazing how quickly it turns. It's dog eat dog, and everyone hates each other. And then the cast list is posted, and then you're a fucking family for some reason, and you all exchange herpes or whatever you do.
This is specifically community theater.
It's not. It is kind of a push. There's a really good class down here. The guy who teaches it is brilliant. His name is Jeffrey Inman, he's just brilliant in teaching this whole thing. You guys, it would be worth your time to come down here and take that class because it addresses that and how weird of a process it is. You know,
does it address getting sabotaged?
You'd get something out of it. You know, then again, you'd get something out of improv too. But I just it's amazing because some of the teaching talent down here is so brilliant. I'm wondering what the hell it's even doing down here in the first place because it's that good. And that's one of them. That's one of the instructors on this very topic. So.
Well, if you have a class with him next time you go, ask him how to deal with these people.
I will. I'm going to ask that very question because he's an audition specialist. So,
yeah, because I mean, it's not like it's a freak thing because there's some pretty like known things that people do when they're fumbling an audition, especially on the reads, cold reads. When what are some of the good ones? People who are over about it. They step in front. They don't know basic stagecraft or movement. The ones that aren't loud enough, the ones that aren't emoting during an angry scene, and there's a few different ones out there.
Whatchamacallit? You're gonna have bad things, but here's another interesting perspective, and I've heard more than so this is two from the class. There's a panel to see if they want to refer you to an MFA program. So it's a beauty show for you as an actor. You've just got your bachelor's, and you come in, and you're sitting in front of this panel, and they're just, they've seen 60 of you. And it's like, okay, that's a good one, that's a good one. And this is a story directly from class. This guy comes in, it's Chicago, comes in, is all like, oh, hi, how you guys doing? It is cold out there. Yeah, I'm just going to, hang on a second. Let me just hang everything up. Okay. Does it seem blah, blah, blah? And just, all right, thank you very much. Stay warm, and then leaves. As soon as that door closed behind him, everyone was talking about him. Mm-hmm. Everyone was talking about him. And, like, most of the school, just because he exhibited that friendliness, that, not, I'm an actor, here's what I'm going to do, I have something to offer you, but just that human interaction.
Connectivity.
Yeah.
Connecting with your audience. Wow, what a concept. There was another instance at the La Jolla Playhouse. I believe I'm getting this right. Yes, it was at the La Jolla Playhouse. They were casting for a role. They really didn't know what they were looking for. And it was kind of skewing old. And this was the last guy, or the second to the last guy. This guy comes in. On his resume, it says Grossmont College. And they're like, okay, guy's younger than everybody else, comes in, blows everyone away because this was his interpretation, and just kind of left really humble, got the call back, got the part. Nice. And somebody a few years ago saw him on Sons of Anarchy.
All right, good.
So that's an instance of, what do you bring to this role? What do you bring, and what are you bringing to the audition?
And the subject of auditioning and that connectivity, that X factor kind of thing, and the subject of classes is what is an interesting thing to me, because I believe you can refine a talent, but you can't teach it. And I think acting classes especially is that kind of thing, something you can refine and get better at, but you can't teach it from nothing. The connectivity thing that you're describing, Eddie, in my opinion, is one of those things you either have it or you don't.
Yes.
And if you have it, God bless you, and they get the edge and they get the parts. We all know people like that who just go and they just nail it just because they're naturals and they're good. Then they go to classes and they get better. The frustrating thing is the people that don't have it and don't have that connectivity and just aren't getting the parts, and they don't know why, and they go to all the classes and they try to learn that X factor. I don't know.
How do you teach that X factor? I completely understand. But then again, how much of a chance if we started, going, let's take hockey lessons. Let's learn how to skate. Let's somebody pick up a goal. What chance do we have, making it to the Olympic team? Let's not go pro. Let's just making it to the Olympics or the United States Olympic team. What chance do we have not being in that environment and just picking it up and then going with it? Maybe that's a bad example. Or another art. Let's take up painting. Are we going to be at, a master level? Is some of our art even going to sell? There's that innate ability, and then there's kind of everything that goes around it too. The way you sell that. That's the way you sell that ability. Sports
and trade, I guess, can be compared, because you can get better at sports. If you don't have coordination, then you just won't. It's kind of one of those things. Like, but arts. I mean, I can't speak for painting. I don't know that much about painting outside of Bob Ross, but really, when it comes to other arts, like performance arts, like singing, you can get all the lessons in the world, but if you're tone deaf, you're just not. The lessons just aren't going to get you there. I mean,
yeah, no, I'd agree with that too. Speaking of, it all comes full circle. A guy, I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast. I think we all know. I'm not going to say his name, but he did a lot of theater, and bless his heart, great guy. Jesus Christ, this guy just could not act. He did it. He was in a lot of plays because he was nice and they needed people, but like it was cringeworthy. Like sometimes we did to go back to it. I actually auditioned for a play. He was my audition partner, and he ended up getting a lead role because he did a monologue separately that he nailed. That's one reason. Side note: I hate monologue auditions. But he fucked up the cold read, but he still got the lead part. Anyway, during the entire rehearsal process, it was a comedy. This dude could not refrain himself from starting to smile when we would do the joke or do the punchline. he would sit there just like, for those like not watching, like just holding back laugh visually, to where like a week or two before opening night, the director came to me and another guy, and he's like, "Can you two start memorizing his lines?"
Wow. Yeah.
I think I remember this story.
I think I told the story,
this
but
one
like,
before, yeah.
because he was having trouble. That's a big thing, especially in theater. He couldn't, as a lead, remember all of his lines. He kept missing lines, and then on top of that, in a comedy, he couldn't stop himself from visually, like, laughing or looking like he's holding back.
Timing, and you're not. It's not funny to you. It's funny to the audience.
Yeah.
So going back to the teachable versus non-teachable, I'm trying to think of more examples of what we would consider art, and I guess what separates performance art from other kinds of art or other kinds of just products, really. Sports would be more of a product. You know, you have skill, and your product is of winning the whatever. Instruments. I was trying to think of instruments, like playing the piano. If you've never known piano in your life, you can learn pretty much how to do piano. You can learn if you put enough time in. I guess that's really the qualifier. If you put enough time into piano, eventually you could get to a professional standard. It'd be a lot more for some people, a lot less for other people. Unlike theater, in my opinion, or acting. Acting is one of those arts or skills that no matter how much time you put in, if you don't have that, you're not a good actor. I don't know. I might be wrong.
Well,
it's weird too. Acting is weird because it's not there. Good acting, you don't realize the person's acting. What a weird skill that is. And the most and in the Esper book, one of the lines I love, the most unnatural thing in the world is to try to behave naturally. How do you teach that?
Yeah. Well, again, we've had this debate about Mark Wahlberg, about Keanu Reeves, about what makes a good actor as well. And that's what we kind of concluded, is that acting natural, reality, people don't go to a theater or a movie to watch reality. They don't want to watch real people. We say we do, and we could say reactions are real, but the character we want is that connectivity that you were talking about. We want to feel like we want to either see familiarity, or we want to see Bruce Willis play Bruce Willis, or Mark Wahlberg just be generally awesome, or what's his name? Michael Bay,
Tom Cruise, you know?
Yeah, or Michael Bay blowing up cars for no reason. It's like, we don't want reality. We want that X factor thing that you just can't teach because it's just non-tangible.
I think the sports example is interesting because I think there's so many layers to that. Teaching the actual fundamentals versus having like an instinctual talent for it. Like, let's take baseball, for instance. I'm going to pick on baseball a little bit. If you're a first baseman, I remember I played a little bit of baseball growing up. If you're a first baseman, it's almost robotic. Pretty much almost every position in baseball, minus the pitcher, is given. It's like a set of rules. If I'm a right fielder and there's a man on first, if I get a ball hit to me, I'm throwing to second.
Conditions you just learn preset ready.
It's preset, ready to go. It's almost robotic. Whereas if you're the pitcher, you need to have an instinct. You need to know what you should throw. You need to watch the bases because maybe this guy over here, he's a good, he steals bases for a living. Whereas there's another guy you don't have to worry about him. So like, I think you could teach somebody how to throw the ball fast and accurate, but you can't teach somebody the instinct of a pitcher.
I like what the distinction you made, the fundamentals versus talent. Eddie can speak to this as well. You see it in combat sports. You can learn the fundamentals of strikes and defenses, but the real top of the line competitors in combat sports are artists. They have that extra talent, that X factor. I'm watching old videos of Muhammad Ali or Tyson, and or a third example. And there's just that real, like, almost dance kind of move they had. They were doing things that were outside. They had all the fundamentals down. They spent all the time in the classes like they should, but they had that extra little oomph that just made them great. So,
and you can't teach reaction times. If someone's coming at you,
also You develop an instinct for it, but it's
That's what I mean,
fascinating
though.
when I go on Instagram. I get judo in my feed, and just some of these snaps that I see or whatever, these short movie segments, just guy being in a position and then having the instinct to know just to switch it and go to another throw, even though he's in a recessive position, and it's like, I can't believe you pulled that off. That is absolute artistry. That's heads up. Because you're at the top of, everyone's at the top of the game if you got the name of a country on the back of your gi, and just to see him pull that off out of nowhere, and it's gorgeous if you know what you're looking at. And another example is just Magic. Well, Magic Johnson. I went online during the pandemic, and just, why do they call him Magic? Why do they call him Magic? And it's just not thinking. How do you defend against somebody who's looking at you but knows where everybody out on the court is and can look this way and then throw this way, or do something that people may do on the schoolyard, which is throw the ball, bounce it, do a long bounce, and then you have Chick Curtin saying there's no way he should have been able to do that, or how could anybody do that? It's magic. It's
you beat me to
instinct.
it. I was gonna bring up basketball because you could have someone, Mitch. I'm not sure how closely you follow basketball, but like someone, Tim Duncan. They called him Mr. Fundamentals. And if you watched him, nothing Tim Duncan did was crazy or fancy, but he had his shit down, and he did it well, and he crushed. One of the best basketball players of all time.
Larry Bird was kind of that way. Just very fundamental.
Larry Bird, he was just an absolute hard worker.
But so you look at, like Eddie said, Magic Johnson. You look at Kobe for some examples. LeBron James. Even Steph Curry recently in the last year or so. Remember, he made a pass like between his legs, under somebody else's legs. And it's like, you can't teach that. That is just pure talent and pure instinct.
Zen. That is Zen. And it's amazing to watch. Look at how we light up. Just some of those examples where it's like, it's totally heads up. That's not planned.
I think we've all felt micro examples of that being in the moment kind of thing, and seeing it and having that feeling as if I don't do it right now, it's not going to happen. And then you pull it off, and it's great. And yeah, I mean, Jordan played that way. He danced on that court and flew. It was why he called him Airman. But you could teach. Yeah, well, reaction time, to go back a little bit to when you're talking about like boxing or other combat sports. A lot of it, some of it is what you call reflex. You can refine reflex, and if you either have reflex, that's great, and it'll give you an advantage. But like what Eddie was saying, you need to, and what Mike was saying a little bit too, because it happens in baseball, you just have to have all the possible outcomes ready, like possible things that could happen. I like to think that reaction time is half preparation, knowing that something is coming, or the likelihood that something is coming, and then the other half is your reflex reaction to it. And then there's a third point of compensation, as if you were too fast or too slow. But yeah, there's a lot of it. But yeah, so back to acting.
Well, and here's another thing, along that vein. Improv is an absolute high if you get everybody vibing if you get that chemistry on stage. Because it's like, this scene is just, it's going to evaporate, and it's what we have now. So when you get everybody who has that same zen and is on stage, it's magical to watch, and it's magical to experience. You're just riding on a cloud. You're just riding on a cloud, and there's enough water vapor to hold you, but if that separates, it's like it falls, but that's part of it. It's exciting.
No, you see that in straight theater too. I mean, straight as in just non-musical, straight theater. I heard that term. It was some professor called it straight theater, and because they were saying like, there's not a lot of actors in straight theater, non-musical theater. Anyway, when the scene is just right and the emotions are peaked and the audience is into it, and then you burst into tears on stage because it's just flowing and it's just jazz, it's dance, it's great. But yeah, something you can't really teach. You could say, be ready for it, but I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what improv does, because imagine being up there, and if somebody drops a line, frickin' Glennie is on stage, pulls me off. Am I not a worthy gentleman? Oh shit, I dropped that line.
What's interesting about improv too, and I think I've mentioned this in past episodes, and Eddie, you can probably chime in on this too. Our friend DJ, who is great at improv, I remember he was telling us about this, that when you're watching it, and you hear like, oh, I'm watching improv, you assume a lot of this shit is made up on the spot, which a lot of it is. But what he was saying was like, half the jokes I say in a performance, I have trained, I have workshopped, and I have in the back of my head. Kind of like you were saying, like you're ready for all contingent, you're ready for all scenarios. So you have all these punchlines kind of in your head, so that, oh, this thing happens, perfect time to say it. That a lot of improv is not necessarily making things up on the spot. It's knowing when to pull the gun out and shoot at the right target.
You can do that too. You can do that.
It's a mix of both, of course. Yeah,
audience.
You see it in you see it in singing improv when they're making up lyrics on the spot. You'll notice that if you ever watch an improv song, the topic, the meat of what they're talking about makes up most of the lyric, but then the very end of the lyric, the part that needs to rhyme, is pulled from a big box of rhymable words. So they finally like they hit the whole point, and then they wrap it up with an easily rhymable word, and then they can go back and meet up
you help
topic,
your
and then
out. You help your partner out. Everybody wants a good scene.
It's that same kind of thing of being prepped and knowing what words rhyme well, saying the words, and then finding the words that can rhyme later. But
the point being that I was making is that there's a teachable skill there. I still think there's a lot of instinct required for improv, but there is a teachable skill there that you don't necessarily have to have talent to participate.
You just need to know the rules, the rules, and the rules are simple, you don't negate anything. Everything's a yes and add more information. Don't disagree with your scene partner,
and
but
the basics of...
Yeah, you watch masters play, though. You watch them at the groundlings, and it's like, okay, it's a door scene. All right, get in. I'm just going to close the door. And the guy playing the teacher, he's like, okay, yes, and close the door. And the other guy just looks, okay, I'll close the second one. And they look and stare, and you can hear the awkwardness. And then the guy who made the mistake goes, I built this car. It has 2 doors. Okay,
Nice.
And you just cover yourself. There's a mistake there. You don't go, oh my God. You just go, that's comedy. How are you going to get out of it?
You can teach the fundamentals of, in acting you see, they teach the method and all the other crap that they teach in acting classes. But I in the one semester I spent in theater school or school learning theater, meeting the other, kids, because it's a college, so they have, all the acting classes, and other majors might take acting classes as to, as their whatever credits and whatever. But I remember being in a few of those classes and because I expected, okay, there's going to be some, accounting major. He needs his art credit, so he takes acting 1. Cool. But the worst of it was all of the theater majors in the acting 1 class that you just, like what Mike was saying, you just know it's like, oh no, change your major or something. It's like, and has no one told you? Like,
yeah, man.
It's terrible because you tell them.
Anybody can take your class though. That's what I feel like I'm doing.
No, but it was okay. It was a private school. It wasn't cheap. And these kids are majoring. I was like, oh, fuck. And what? You going to tell them, like, no, hey, you really shouldn't be acting. Then what? Oh, they're going to log that away. It's like, everyone said no. This is exactly what all those Oscar winners are talking about.
Yeah.
I'm going to persevere.
Exactly.
I think I told a story on here about, and I'll make it brief, a guy I knew in college. He changed his degree to theater from, like, math. And he's the nicest guy, probably one of the hardest workers in our classes. And he graduated and he moved to LA. Some years later, I went and saw a play he was doing. And even after all those years of pushing and auditioning and trying, seeing him on stage, I was just like, dude,
come on. And
I feel bad because like he got his degree, he's balls in it. And I was just kind of like, man, after all these years, like, someone tell him? Like, as mean as that sounds, I was like,
that's the challenge. I mean, imagine being in the industry and you see that all the time, But then again, even on final print, there are people in that who maybe shouldn't be in that, and that's their lucky break. And it's like, do they know are they a one-hit wonder or do they keep going?
And those people are probably very attractive.
More than likely, there's something about them that, Tim Burton likes you. All right, step right up.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to hold this sign up every time someone says it.
fuck
That
off.
was backwards.
Was it backwards for you?
For us,
It
it
was
was, yeah.
backwards for me.
I read it.
I
though.
wrote it. I wrote it backwards because on mine it looks normal. God damn it. Okay.
Did you write it backwards?
I did write it backwards.
Well,
yeah.
the audience will get it. It's not a joke for us fellow.
Mitch was making a point that he said
Podcasters.
some of this shit before.
Okay.
I've said this shit before. I know.
All
I
right,
have.
yeah.
Like the. Yeah,
Your
so every
fans will
time
love you.
we'll have the sign that says I've said this before. This is not a bit. This is just me forgetting I've said it. But
People love us.
they don't mind us. We're good. We're good to have on in the background while you do something else.
Fold laundry and
Sit in
fix your
traffic.
generator and.
Yeah. No, don't fix your generator. Call a professional.
Call a
to do it.
professional. It's very dangerous work.
Please, God, man, I got this guy that called me today. Let me tell you,
Let's
this
talk
guy,
about work.
this fucking guy. This is something that I think could translate across professions. You guys will have to give me examples of how it relates, but I know it's relatable. God damn it! Listen, this guy called me. And I didn't recognize the number, so I let it go to voicemail. And I listened to the voicemail, and it's this guy. He's a contractor. He's installed generators. And I recognize the number because months back he had called me because he installed a generator, and he did it wrong. And he was basically trying to ask me how to correct it. So I'm like talking him through it. Spent too much time on the phone with him. I should have just said, hey, if you want me to come out, it's going to cost X $100. It's going to cost, minimum this amount for me to come out and take care of it. Oh, okay. Well, I'll see if the owner wants to do it. A week later, he calls me, more questions. So it's just free information, right? He's trying to get me to fix his problem so he doesn't have to pay the real professional to come out and fix it.
Mind raping.
So he calls exactly. I heard that term in the
What was the term,
Silicon
Eddie?
Valley,
Yeah.
What was the term?
Mind
Mind
raping.
Mind raping. Yeah.
Show us your idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the chalkboard, show us it.
So he called today, and I didn't recognize the number. And then I listened to his voicemail, and I'm like, oh, this guy. He's like, yeah, I got this generator. It's not coming on. I was wondering if you could help me out, maybe give me some pointers. And I'm like, I know you're just going to want me to talk you through how to diagnose it for you, and just pay me to come out and do it. I don't want to give you free information. That's what my value is. And I was a dick, and I talked to him, and I wasn't a dick. I was a dick because I wasn't a dick, because I talked to him, gave him some pointers, and he ended up fixing it. So whatever. But
All right.
Yeah, that gets
He
irritating.
gave you a 5-star review. Yeah,
No,
you,
he
you
didn't.
just say that too. Don't forget that 5-star review on Yelp and tell your friends.
Yeah, for your the free service I
Which is,
gave you. No, I experienced something like that. So without going into too much detail on the whole story, we were at one point trying to sell the bar. And these people came in. They just got an inheritance. They wanted to buy it. They lived nearby, and so they came in every day for a week. We were going over the beer list. I remember I sat with them how I picked out the beer list, my criteria, my game. My dad went over how he does the banks just kind of going over how we do stuff so they know when they're going to buy it. So for a week this happens. They were taking menus home to go over it and study it, and then after a week. We're talking every day for a week or two.
yeah.
She comes in to be fair, she eventually became a friend of mine. But at the time, she came in, have a drink, and she's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh yeah, guess what? We bought this place, and I'm trying to be vague, in the city over, this one place, it's turnkey, everything ready to go, it's going to be great. And I was like, I didn't say it out loud, but in my head I was like, bitch, you've been in here for the last week or so.
Yeah, and you deserve to think that. Is that place still around?
They sold it to somebody else.
Oh,
We should egg it. Egg it.
I just didn't go there.
Yeah.
Like I said, over time she kind of became a buddy of mine, but at the time I was like, you've been in here mining information for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and you're happily telling me that you just bought somewhere else?
Yeah.
She was telling me we were chummy, and at the time we weren't. And I was kind of like, dude, what the fuck? Cause not at this other place. Weird how the beers they had on tap were quite similar to the ones we had.
Yeah.
I was like,
you got mind raped.
Yeah,
You
I
got
was
mind
just
raped in real life.
I had an idea. The problem is my dad's too much of a nice guy to ever actually do it, and I'm probably too pussy to actually try it. But these guys, because we get it all the time, people calling in, asking information on basically how to do our job, and we give them all the pointers and this and that. And finally I want to be like, what if like this guy who called me, and I won't say his name or his company, but I know the company, and next time he calls and we end up chatting and go for an hour, what if I sent a bill to his workplace for, billed as phone consultation, over the phone consultation? And if he calls like, well, what the hell? I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I spent about an hour chatting with you, and there you go.
Did you spend an hour?
Attorneys do that.
No, but I'd say it's a minimum an hour for consultation.
I mean, honestly, if he called you again, I would not hesitate to be like, oh, hey, dude, like, I'm kind of busy right now, so like, if you want my advice, I do have to just give me, like, I do have to bill you.
That's essentially. It's essentially what I did today, is that, not the billing part, but it was like, yeah, man, I'm in the field. I don't have a lot of reception where I'm going. I might give you one or two things. Otherwise, you're going to have to schedule a day for me to come out, and then I will bill you, because that's how this works. But you try to balance that with being a nice guy, but some people just don't get the hint, I think. But
or they do get the hint. They do get the hint.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
They just take advantage.
Yeah. I mean, I like to believe they do it unknowingly, It's like, look, we're just talking. I'm just wondering what you know. And it's like, I'm like,
but
yeah,
no,
but
they're not doing it unknowingly. They know exactly what they're doing.
Maybe.
I would agree with Eddie on that one.
It's up to you. Some
contractors are dumb, man. I don't think they do it on purpose.
Maybe.
Anyway. Mitch, this has been Mitch's Generator Corner.
Mitch's Generator Corner. We appreciate every minute of it. And if you want ideas on how to start your own bar or start your own generator business, you've got two great resources.
You want to talk about the good old generator business and being an electrician? We could alternate segments, but I prefer to be.
We could alternate generator. Yeah, I got
but
that.
I prefer to be more direct.
Damn.
Wow.
Mike, in electrical theory, there's two forms of voltage. There's
I understand.
Alternating. Okay.
I understand.
In case you want to start your own business, I mean, he's handed it to you right there. I mean, come on.
Not giving you the
satisfaction.
I'm just getting warmed up, bitches.
Yes.
Right.
Sorry, started late. I thought I'd be home, but my bicycle's all fucked up. I was like, I got delayed. So
what?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, where did that come from? It's like
I was hoping to be home by like 5:30, but I was riding my bike home and my bike got all fucked up, so I had to stop and try to figure out what was wrong with it. So that's why
our audience appreciates you saying that, Mitch. It's like, why didn't they start on time?
Yeah. We should release this a half hour later on Sunday.
We should. And just say it's Mitch's fault. He was on his bike.
Sorry for the late entry, yeah.
All right.
All right. What a way to conclude this.
I don't know where this went.
Talk about full we weren't even recording. Let's go back there. Yeah.
I'm just fucking tired, man. I'm tired. It was a long-ass day.
So.
All right.
I'm just rambling.
We've been going on for about an hour. We can call it there. Good discussion.
Right
good discussion.
Really? I thought we were just getting going.
I have more shit. Here's one. It's a quick one. We'll go out on this.
All right.
I know there's not just one person. I know a lot of people. Like, let's say, so we happen to be on a set of a movie called Valkyrie years ago, the three of us. And we didn't do this, but imagine if I was like, hey, Tom, when we were all just chilling, Tom Cruise. I'm like, hey, can I take a selfie with you real quick? And he's like, yeah. So we take a selfie, which this wouldn't be allowed because we weren't allowed to take photos on set. But let's say we were allowed to. And I took the selfie, and then I posted on Facebook and Instagram and shit saying, hey, no big deal, just me hanging out with Tom Cruise. And I do that all the time. Like, in with the almost the purpose of saying, like, look at all the people I know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Am I the asshole for being annoyed when people put... It's one thing to be like, hey, I'm here on set with Tom Cruise, nice guy. It's another if I'm doing that all the time, like on red carpets, because you can attend red carpets if you know the right people, and trying to present myself as knowing these people.
Yeah. Well, that's a douchebag.
well, okay, it's misrepresentation. It's like, okay, cool. Hey, can you have him come perform at the bar mitzvah? It's like, okay, call him out. But you can ferret out somebody like that pretty easy.
No, I'm just saying, am I the asshole for being irritated by that?
No, not at all. Not at
Yeah,
all. I think
it's like, don't get irritated. You know the person, you know the truth.
You can't just prevent yourself from being irritated.
Go drink a beer,
It's like when someone says, I'm going to tell you something, but you promise you can't get mad. Like, no, you're going to get fucking mad if you're mad. You can't just say, don't get irritated.
Okay. Does he say that on the posts or she?
What?
Don't get irritated. I'm here with Carrot Top.
He says it. Don't get irritated. We're not actually friends. I'm just going to pretend to be friends.
No, I mean it's the equivalent of the guy who posts his picture of his nice new car or the house and all this stuff. They're bragging about their achievements and
But it's not an achievement. That's my point. You don't know this guy.
I mean, okay. Even worse. It's even worse.
He's bragging about his access. Okay, if you want to brag about access, sure. Okay, you got a picture next to a celebrity. Good job.
It just feels like the way he presents the photos feels like he's trying to be like, hey, look who I know.
Yeah.
It'd be like, so the people that post their cars and their motorcycles and shit, that's like even has more warrant to it, other than that person that posts pictures of them in other people's cars.
Yeah.
Like check out the Tesla I'm in or the Ferrari I'm in and all this other. It's like,
you rented that thing.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just been happening a lot lately.
So this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to call like irritated people out. I'm going to get pictures in like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and just say, yeah, this is what's up. And then anybody who says anything, I was like, no, I'm commenting about the wash and the wax. You're looking at the car. Dude, you're the idiot. You see the shine on that thing? That's what I'm into. I'm into waxing. And you know how long it took to do the tires? I didn't do them. Somebody else did. But I appreciate good washes.
Well, you kind of touched on an example that I can give. So I know a couple mechanics online. Excuse me. They're not mechanics, but they do kind of like body work and shit. And so one of them...
Generators?
Sure. But one of them will post photos of the car he worked on. Like, hey, this is what I did. I waxed it up. Yeah. I did this, blah, 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 blah. But he doesn't say... Like, he doesn't get in the seat and take a picture with it. It implies that he's driving the car.
Right.
So he's saying,
no
like,
big
this
deal.
is my work.
Took this out for a quick spin.
Yeah. So he's showing off his work, and I get that, but he's not misrepresenting what he's doing. My camera's wobbling.
That's I think's what it is. Yeah, the misrepresentation of the context. Right.
Yeah.
You're not really hanging out. You're just a quick selfie.
If you know that, then it's like, if you know that, then don't worry about it. It's like,
I'm not worried about it.
You should just comment.
I'm just irritated.
Yeah. Okay.
You should just comment. Be like,
about it.
Be like, whoa, did you hang out? Yeah, you hung out. What'd you do?
You should.
Yeah, we hung out for this, like,
hey,
for how long?
You get this, folks. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Did you get her
hit
number,
up, dude? Hit him up. Yeah.
Oh, so it was more just.
So it was more
just an incidental thing. Oh, then that's not really impressive, is it?
Oh wait, so you paid $10 at Comic-Con to take a photo with him. Oh, okay, I got it.
Gotcha. Exactly. Now I know. Okay, I'm gonna take my like back.
It's an angry face now.
Deserve my like. Mark, I'm offended.
Still waiting for the thumbs down button. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The best we got was an angry face, which is bullshit.
I mean, I like the angry face, but yeah. Okay, anyway. I'll cross that question off the list now.
I promise next time I'm going to have more up-to-date news items, and I'll have more expansion on them.
I really enjoyed your news segment there early on there, Mitch.
Yeah, it was great.
It wasn't even a news. It was just like
why you're late. And
this
and
is
if you hey, he's gonna get drunker, ladies and gentlemen. Just don't start. Okay, he'll get drunker.
Yeah. I'm just getting warmed up.
Founder of the Hells Angels died. Anyway, in other news.
I think that's how news should be. Anyway. What's her name? Ghislaine Maxwell? What's her name?
Ghislaine, something like that.
Oh, okay, yeah. She got sentenced. Anyway, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
That's our show, ladies and gentlemen.
This is like, this has turned into freaking Saturday Night Live sketches. It's like, okay, you can wrap it up now.
Anytime. Nah, fuck you. I'm going to make you listen longer just because.
So here's a topic.
Don't like it?
This is like when you're trying to leave a party and your lady keeps talking.
Yeah.
No, it's like
Or
when you're
family
hosting
gathering.
a party.
Cars. That's why you
It's when
teach
you're when you're hosting a party and someone won't leave.
That reminds me of this one time I had a lot of people over. Let me tell the very long story. No.